Let us summarize now by looking at St. Louis. First, what is St. Louis? What is St. Louis? What is St. Louis?
It ran, Louis dear, it's too slow for me here, so I think I will go for a ride. Meet me in St. Louis, Louis, meet me at...
Any resident or traveler in St. Louis cannot help but notice the white elephant of what was once a thriving city. It is absolutely littered with unoccupied buildings. My name is Grace Hockett, and as a St. Louis native, I spent many years of my life never knowing why we seem to find a dilapidated house on each corner. Refusing to continue to live in ignorance, I have spent the last 5 months investigating this issue all over the city.
Blighted and abandoned properties often become little hubs and central spots for violent crime or illegal activities, which make it unsafe for the people that live around it.
It's really demoralizing and bad for the neighborhood. And there is a proven correlation between blighted properties, blighted and abandoned properties, and violent crime. So the more blighted and abandoned properties in a neighborhood, the higher the violent crime rate is going to be in the neighborhood.
Abandoned buildings are susceptible to many issues that accelerate their demise, such as extreme water damage that could begin with just an unmaintained small hole in the roof. They attract arsonists who satiate themselves on a building they believe nobody will miss.
You'll see burns on brick, and all of those fire damage and things are structural issues that can be fixed during the rehab, but ultimately they are obstacles when you are trying to repurpose and restore a property or a house.
They have also been used as shelter for the unhoused of our St. Louis population who struggle to find other options, which unfortunately leads to a litter accumulation.
In St. Louis, there's a brick recycling plant, and so one of the big things in St. Louis is the phenomenon of dollhouses. Someone will take a truck, they'll leverage something against a wall, and they'll pull out the entire wall of bricks and then take the bricks to the recycling plant to make $50. But the thing is, that leaves a lot of properties here with only 2 or 3 walls. And so that's kind of something that is, I feel, unique to St. Louis, but a challenge that the community development in St. Louis will have to tackle on their own.
When you think of the difference between what they gain from tearing off a wall to the cost of replacement, they may get $300 from the bricks on a wall. And replacing those bricks probably is $30,000 or more. They get a penny on the dollar.
With some of the most historic and beautiful architecture the Midwest has to offer, how could we let these treasures fall into ruin? And how could our citizens continue to live unenlightened to the roots of this problem?
This week in St. Louis, he finds a different situation. 1 year after the Supreme Court decision for integration, the Carolinas and other southern states had not moved in that direction. But here in the border state of Missouri, the St. Louis schools launched a full-scale desegregation program in less than the year the court allowed for study of methods.
It all began in the 1950s. St. Louis was at its peak population. Schools were beginning to integrate, and the Gateway Arch had not even been built yet.
Mr. Hickey, you're winding up your first semester here since you ended segregation. How has it worked?
We feel that the integration of the secondary schools has worked at a level much higher than even our best hopes would have anticipated.
Have you had any friction or difficulties of any kind?
With the exception of one minor problem in one of the high schools, which is a problem that we'd probably have had any day, and anyway, we've had no problems of any kind.
Here in Sold and Blewett High School, as in St. Louis total population, the ratio of Negroes is about 30%. Here's what the students say.
Before the ending of the segregation came, the children in the grade school would fight each other. But they didn't even understand why they were fighting each other. They didn't even have a good reason.
The city has been on an urban decline ever since then. As the county grows richer, it leaves the city in ruin as taxes are still not shared among both areas like other cities in the country. We have lost over 500,000 people from our city's population since the 1950s, operating at nearly a third of the community we used to have. Looking at St. Louis today, of the 129,000 properties in the city area, 25,000 of those are abandoned, 53% of which are privately owned.
Well, in terms of urban problems, it means broad leadership.
It has been compared to the classic chicken and egg dilemma. No one wants to move to the city to live next to an abandoned home, but on the other hand, there are abandoned homes in the city because nobody wants to live there. It puts business owners in a similarly difficult position. For example, this lot here was bought years ago by a mega gas station chain that will remain unnamed, but let's just say it's a quick trip away from the Tower Grove area. No smaller gas stations or convenience stores have been able to open in the surrounding area because they live in fear that eventually the gas station will be built and their business will be ruined. But it doesn't happen. I investigated further by interviewing St. Louis expert Mark Groth, writer of the St. Louis City Talk blog. Mark asserts that the greatest issue with attitudes toward this problem is apathy. Citizens feel powerless, and the Citizens Service Bureau has logged and ignored reports for years. However, change is still possible. Groth himself is very confident. Fear can be defined by what you are unfamiliar with and what you don't understand. I understand the city and fear nothing. So what can be done?
Neighborhood Legal Support, or NLS, is a Kansas City-based nonprofit law firm that does focused community development in low-income neighborhoods. So basically, they do all the legal work to turn blighted and abandoned properties into affordable housing for low-income families. And so Neighborhood Legal Support has been around for about 6 years, and within that time, violent crime within the focused neighborhoods have decreased significantly, which has been really amazing, and they've been able to house over 200 families. There is a need here in St. Louis desperately because we have the abandoned buildings and the abandoned properties. I just think that we need an initiative, someone to take initiative and start doing this kind of work here. The rehabbing process of fixing up a house can take anywhere from 9 months to a year and a half, depending on who's doing the construction and everything. But during that time period, it's really important for the buildings to be sealed up. You'll see, like in St. Louis, so many of the buildings have open windows. Maybe they had wooden boards over it, but they're gone now. Open to public access, anyone can get in. And when you're rehabbing, you don't want anybody getting in. It's a lot of working with not only just like the community, but the people in the neighborhood to kind of make sure, like it has to be successful through collaboration with the residents and the families. But then also you have to figure out why the people there were pushed out, why they're not there anymore. And then also understand how you can welcome in new people that are willing and needing housing. There is so much potential and opportunity to be able to turn these into things that can serve the entire St. Louis population, because at the end of the day, abandoned buildings imply that they were once occupied buildings.
Although blighted properties are in and of themselves a horrible problem, they're also part of a solution, because blighted houses can be converted into affordable, good quality housing.
Lights are shining any place but there. We will dance a hoochie coochie. I will be your tootsie wootsie if you will meet me in St. Louis, Louis. Meet me at the fair. Blue Woods was the name of a horse that ran at the New Orleans course. I played him one day for $1 each.